Okay, so standing in the middle of your mat. And just begin by wiggling your toes. So just wiggling all 10 toes. Unless you're super special and you've only got 9 or 8 or something like that. Otherwise, wiggling every single toe. Soften the knees and then start to press the toes into the mat. Scrunching them up, lift the arches underneath the feet. Knees are soft, tuck the tailbone under. Straight away, you're starting to get a little bit taller. Pull in pelvic floor, pull in that TVA. Sort of thinking about lengthening up through the spine, get that little bit of a lift on the rib cage, but as you do that, check you're not arching the lower back. Take the shoulders down and back. Find the length at the back of the neck. And then we're just going to go to that one we did last week, so we're just opening palms out towards the sides of the body. It's actually called mountain pose. So just take the palms out to the sides of the body and just hold them there. So the shoulders are down and back. You can really feel that length in the spine. So now take that pelvic floor and that TVA. Pull in 100%. Try not to hold the breath when you pull in. And then take a slow release. We're going to do it 10 times. Pelvic floor TVA. Pulling in 100%. Really big squeeze. And then a slow release. And again, pull in. And slow release. Try and relax the chest and shoulders now, but still hold that position. Pulling in. Pelvic floor TVA. And slow release. And again, pulling in. Extra little squeeze at the end. And slow release. 5 more. Pull in. Check you're not holding the breath. And slow release. And pull in. Think about the crown on the top of the head going up towards the ceiling. And slow release. 2 more. Pull in. And slow release. Last one. Pull in. Extra squeeze at the end. Pelvic floor's in. Slow release it to 50%. And now we're going to go super slow shoulder circles. So lift the shoulders right up to your ears. So again, we're like really scrunching everything up. And then really slowly circle them back. And imagine you've got pockets here in the backs of your shoulders and you're just going to put those shoulders in those pockets. And then again, lift really slowly here. So the neck's getting like a really bit of a squeeze. Shoulders are squeezing around the neck. Circle it back. Put them in those pockets. 4 more. Lift, squeeze, but we're going really nice and slow. Take it all the way back. Notice as you lift that you're not kind of tilting the pelvis, or we're not losing that connection with the TVA where the belly button is. 2 more, just really nice and slow. Try not to hold the breath. Squeezing up those shoulders and taking them down. Last one. Slow motion. I haven't frozen. Squeeze and then take them back. Then going to go to that scapular set, so elbows tucked in. Take the thumbs out to the side. Check again, you're not pelvic tilting, you're pulling in the TVA and the pelvic floor. Back to center. Same thing, let's go really, really slowly here. Take it out to the side. I want you to really notice and feel what's happening in those shoulders. Check here you're not really arching and lifting at the rib cage, compensating with the rib cage on that lift. So it's really set everything pelvis, the rib cage is neutral, and we're kind of really working shoulders and the top of the back. Try and keep those shoulders in those back pockets. 3 more. Take those thumbs back, still drawing in that pelvic floor, that TVA. Sometimes just working through things a little bit slower. You can feel a little bit more. Don't recommend that when you're running in races though. Then we don't want to go slower. Now we're going to do our side bend. So it's just a slow reach down to one side, to the side of the knee. And then recenter. And again, I'm going to encourage you to just go nice and slow, because then you can notice what's happening with the pelvis and the hips. So really ground and keep the hips still and stable here. Scrunch at the toes, lift the arches underneath the feet. So as we're doing our side bends, our glutes are firing, pelvic floor is engaging. It's all about that connection. And we're kind of nicely grounded down into the mat, but just this upper body and the sides are doing this lovely side bend movement. Engage the core, particularly as you lift out. Again, noticing what you're feeling. Where are you feeling it? Are you feeling it in your obliques, in your sides? In your neck or shoulders? If you're feeling it in your shoulders, maybe just try and let your shoulders go a little bit more floppy. Relaxed. 2 more, just that slow side bend, scrunch up those toes. Check you're not leaning back, leaning forwards. So now we're going to add in, so it's reaching one hand up towards the ceiling, and then exactly the same action, that slow side bend, so that the arm that's reaching down towards the side of the knee does exactly the same. It feels exactly the same. The hips are still and the pelvis is still. Pelvic floors engaged. I'm in the same pace here. Taking our time. Just giving a little bit of space to the sides and giving ourselves a little bit of time, almost a reset posture. Try and keep those hips still. 4 more. Scrunching at those toes. Keep the knees soft. Sometimes we put tension through the legs and the knees lock out. Keep the knees and the shoulders soft, but the core, the pelvis still. Last one, super slow side bends. And then release. So last one for our shoulders is a bit of a challenge, this one. And basically what we're going to do is try and just do a tricep stretch. So you reach at one hand to the ceiling and then you place it down the back of the back. And then you're going to see if you can take your thumb, place the other thumb, go down towards the floor, slide it up the spine. And you might be able to connect or you might not be able to connect, right? So that doesn't matter if you can't connect. So that thumb goes down and then you slide it up the spine. And maybe you can just touch or maybe not. Another thing you can do is if you've got anything to hand, like a band or like a scarf, you could maybe help. If you're not getting the connection you want to, you can also put a prop in. I think everyone's nearly there. Another little thing you can try is if you've got a corner in your room, in your house, is slide one hand down the corner and the other one up the corner. And then you might find that you get there then. So we're in this tricep stretch, and maybe you're hanging on, maybe you're close, and think about the elbow that's going up towards the ceiling, really pointing up towards the ceiling. Then think about the pelvis here. We're not tilting in the pelvis, so tuck the pelvis under. Pull in pelvic floor, pull in TVA. Because you'll notice that you probably tilted your pelvis and arched your lower back to get into that stretch, right? Because maybe shoulders are tight. So pull in the pelvis, tuck in the core, and you might find it a little bit different. And then just take some really deep breaths, filling out the chest with air. Really expanding and filling the lungs. You might also find in this stretch that your neck kind of is getting pushed down. So just try and keep the back of the neck long and keep that neutral position. So then release, maybe a little bit of a shake, and then we'll go on to the other side. So maybe you reach up and you can also push down the elbow. That's also another way in, just to get into your tricep stretch. But then if you want to go into the link, the bind, maybe you can touch, or maybe you want to use the corners again. I need the other corner of the other part of my room for that. Or maybe you've got a band or a scarf. See if you can get some sort of connection, because it really helps. Then just notice what's happened to the pelvis, and when you tilted and arched the lower back, so tuck the pelvis under. Pull in the pelvic floor, the TVA. Then take those deep breaths, filling out the ribcage. Got some tricep moves coming up a bit later, but I realised I hadn't really stretched them out much lately. in our classes, so I thought I'd just give you this nice stretch. One more deep breath. Fill the lungs with air. So a little bit of a shake, a little bit of a release, and then just palms together, and we're just going to take that big circle all the way around the body. Take the eye gaze up, palms touch at the top, and then press the air away. Take the arms back down on that circle. Slide the hands down the legs, maybe towards the knees, down towards the floor. Slowly uncurl. And again, we can do this super slow, again, just to give some space to the lower back. Reset the posture. Sort of calm the nervous system down a little bit. Keep the knees soft. Knees a little bit bent. Slowly uncurl vertebrae by vertebrae. Draw those circles and reach those fingertips right around the body. Touching palms together and then turn palms away. Press the air away. Slowly sliding the hands down. Slowly sliding up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Try and get this as fluid as you can in your movements. Last one. Pulling in pelvic floor, tuck in that TBA as you come down. Slowly uncurl. Finishing last thing with the head looking up. Brilliant. Should feel kind of nicely released now. We're going to go for some squats. Okay. So, let's face our way. Feet hip width apart, scrunch up the toes, engage the arches. Pull in pelvic floor, pull in TVA, tuck the tailbone under. Then sink down, take the hips back in space. Reach these arms forwards. Squeeze the glutes, and then drive the hips forwards. And coming back up. Hips go back in space. Press and push into the glutes, and send the hips forwards and up. Breathing in as you rise. Shoulders are relaxed. Shoulders are down, away from ears. I've got some add-ins coming up, so let's go 4 more, just those standard squats. Squeeze those glutes. Try and get that equal squeeze on both sides of the glutes. Both feet pressing down into the mat. Okay, ready for some little add-ins. So it's a squat, and then it's a knee to elbow balance. Opposite knee to elbow, it's a squat, and then it's a high knee, and then an elbow. This reminds me of Aquafit. Alice probably recognises some of this. Squat. Pull in the core, then pelvic floor TVH. You're going across body balance. Squat. Into balance. So we're going a little bit faster than that initial warm-up. It's a little bit more challenging. Trying to get into these balances in that dynamic sort of flow. You're happy with that? You want a little bit more? It's squat and it's a kick across. It's a squat and a kick across. Maybe not, I don't know how you feel, whether you want to touch your toes, it's totally up to you, right? Squat and a kick across. This reminds me of my Aquafit Monday morning. I used to love this. 2 more. Into those squats, reset, and into that balance. Brilliant. Okay, so gonna just have a little go now, going a bit more steady. Just transfer the weight onto one foot, so it's a balance. Scrunch up the toes, lift up the arches, pelvic floor in, squeeze the glutes, and then just see if you can close your eyes. 10 seconds, close the eyes. Keep pulling yourself back to that center, that engine in the middle, that pelvic floor, those glutes. Shoulders are relaxed. And then we're going to go for our calf raises. So just, you might want to hold on to the wall or whatever you've got there. So just transfer the weight over to the ball of the foot. So try and go over the big toe and then bring it back down. So just small ones to start with, lift and lower. Lift and lower. So then if you've got the confidence, you could let go of your wall and just plainly work with the balance and the calf raise. All the time go pelvic floor. Oh, I like that. So some one arm up, the opposite arm up. I really like that. That's really interesting. Kind of works. I like it. So just work with 10 on each foot. So I think I've got about 4 left. So just take the weight up onto the ball of the foot. But as you're doing that, really work with that pelvic floor and that glute. Maybe starting to tire a little bit now. Calf raises are quite tiring. They're kind of very concentrated. A little bit of a shake, and then we're going to go over to the other side. But first of all, start with that exercise. Just transfer the weight. Scrunch up the toes, lift up the arches, squeeze the glute, pelvic floor in, and then just close your eyes. 10 seconds. Closing your eyes. Just steadying yourself with how it feels. And then when you're ready, you've got your calf raises, so 10. So just bring the weight onto the ball of the foot, lift up the heel, and lower it back down. Think constantly about these connections, so pelvic floor, TVA, glute squeezed, and then so it goes calf, and then it goes up the body, up to the brain. And maybe you're doing exercises and your mind's wandering, like, I don't know, wandering onto something else, but maybe try and bring it back to thinking what you're doing here. So try and, like, the mindfulness thing, so thinking about the pelvic floor, the glute, that's a mindful thought because you're working those muscles. Or maybe the ball of your foot, so taking it over there. Or maybe even using one word, like I use focus. When I'm running and I lose my concentration and I really need to bring it back to what I'm doing in the race or in the training, I just say constantly over and over again, focus, focus, focus. And then it sort of brings me back to the activity that I'm doing. 2 more for me. A little bit of a shake out. So I'm going to adjust my camera and we're all going to meet down in downward dog to stretch out those calf muscles. So bring yourself down, or maybe puppy dog suits you better. So that's your puppy dogs where you've got your knees under your hips and you're kind of working a little bit more with your shoulder stretching. Or maybe you can get your downward dog in there. Hips going up towards the ceiling. Alternate pushing one heel down and then the other. So we're really going for that stretch on the calf muscles. And then your head goes in between your in between your arms. And you can always spiral your biceps towards each other. Spread your fingers. It's always kind of good to bend the knees. It's actually really tricky downward dog with bent knees, so don't worry about the bent knees and downward dog. So a little bit more stretching on the calf muscles. Gently pressing down. Just notice if your knee wobbles or your foot wobbles as you do your pedaling. See if you can steady that so it goes to a straight set down pedal and the foot doesn't wobble. So just holding the feet still, then I've got a little challenge here. Takes a little bit of upper body strength and you need to not be slippy on your mat. So it's opposite arm, touch opposite foot. Reset. Opposite arm, touch opposite foot. Reset. So you're always doing this, you always find that your hips get sent that little bit higher. A little bit like on our warm-up when we were doing our opposite hand to foot kicks. Just those little touches and then switching it over. Get some nice little squeezes there in the TBA. So pull in TBA, pull in pelvic floor. 4 more. Nice bit of upper body and touch. Take the eye gaze back towards the feet.
Last one. Step the left foot forward. We're going to lift up to a nice high lunge. So push back through to that back heel. Try and get that nice stride here. Engage the front foot, so scrunch up the toes, push through that back heel. Nice stretch, you should feel the hip flexors stretch. Stay up in that high lunge. I'm just going to show you, I'm going to come down for a minute. I'm going to see if you're lifting up the same knee that's bent, lift up that arm, take that tricep bind. So the one we did in our warm-up. See now if you can put it into that high lunge. So it's going to be tricky because it's a balance. So you're in your balance, see if you can put in the tricep bind that we did in that warm-up. Just taking that thumb and lifting it up through the spine. And maybe because we've already done it in the class, it's starting to feel a little bit easier already. Big deep breath in. And out, and then come back down, step back to your downward dog. Lift up the hips as high as you can, perhaps go up onto your toes. Spiral the biceps towards each other. And then just step the right foot forwards. So we're into a high lunge, bending the right knee, push that left heel down towards the ground. Feel the hip flexors stretch. Should feel quite good for Mario after his hilly race. Stretch out those hip flexors. Try and take that pelvis under, still pulling in through the pelvic floor and the TVA, lifting up the right arm. Draw that left thumb down towards the ground, slide it up the spine for that tricep bind. Keep that length at the back of the neck, eye gaze going forwards. Still pushing that left foot down towards the floor. Engaging the right foot, scrunch up the toes. Focus on the balance. Taking a big deep breath in, filling out the chest with air. Slowly release. Breath coming back down, step back to your downward dog. Last time, lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Head in between your arms. And then just bend the knees, coming down onto all fours. And we're going to side series. And I'm going to do this side series. I'm going to side series just before we go down onto posture, but we're going to do it in kneeling. So, finding this position, so I've got my one knee bent, the other leg straight. Immediately get this really juicy stretch on the inner hamstring. That thread that runs up into the pelvis and the groin. So just take a moment in that stretch. If you haven't done it for a while, it can feel a little bit tender. So we'll just take it a little bit further, take that one hand down by the bent knee, other arm up and over. So we just work gently into the side body. Check you're not leaning forwards or leaning back. So from here, transfer the weight onto that hand that's by the mat. Other elbow bend and go up towards the ceiling, and then we can do leg lifts. So we're kind of thinking here the glute med, side and the back of the bum. Relaxing that back foot, so just the foot that's not doing any, the resting on the mat, just allow that to relax. Toes relaxed. Check you're not holding your breath. Find pelvic floor, find TVA. Keep working on these little lifts. They don't have to be too high. This is kind of hip mobility work. 4 more. 3 and 2 and 1. Now similar to warm up, it's knee to elbow. Same knee, same side, same knee, same elbow. And then lift. Knee to elbow. And extend. Really great work all around the thighs here and the hips. Just notice what's happening with your chest and your shoulders. So try and reset it so the chest is open at the top part of this move. Bends and comes forwards. Don't forget to breathe. 2 more. Last one. Extend. Extend that leg away, arms opening out, and we're just going to spiral. Turn that foot up towards the ceiling, spiral, and let's see if we can just go towards and touch the toes. So opposite hand coming across, opposite foot. Spiraling back, get nice and tall in the chest. And then again. Spiral and twist, opposite hand, maybe this time you can just touch those toes. And reaching up. Breathing out. So again, kind of really good stretching all around the hamstrings with this. Hamstrings all tying up around the hips. Last one. Spiral it round, breathing out. Okay, and then we're going to reset, but just for a moment, if you're okay on your knees, you can always put a cushion under your knees. Just a little stretch and a twist. So if I show you sideways on. So one hand goes down towards the mat and the other hand goes up towards the ceiling. And maybe you can't get that far, maybe one hand on the hip. So one hand on the hip, one hand up towards the ceiling. It's just preparing us for something I'm going to do in a minute actually on our fronts. So it's just a little twist put through the lower back. Switch it to the other side, one hand up. And then just literally dip, or maybe you can get that other hand down towards the floor. Stretch goes through the lower back with a twist. So and release, then we're going to go to the other side. So we start with the gate pose. So set yourself up and just take a moment, because we haven't done too much of these sort of stretches the last few weeks. So you can feel the stretch on the inside of the hamstring. Then we're going to take that over for a big side body stretch. Hand coming down underneath the shoulder. And just take a moment, fill out the chest with air. If you can think about maybe even spiraling chest towards the ceiling there. So check that your chest isn't really drooping and dropping. Then ready, bending the elbow, one elbow going up towards the ceiling, and then go into your little mini leg lifts. It's okay if you need to adjust your hand. Have it so it's comfortable, but try not to lock out the elbows. So a little bit of softness in the elbows. Pull in pelvic floor, pull in TVA. Don't have to lift too far. If you're tight around the hips, just a small, tiny little lift. Don't forget to breathe. Four more. 3 and 2. And we're ready for your knee to elbow. So that little inner crunch, and then extend. Into your crunch, put in pelvic floor, put in TVA, and extend. See if you can keep that foot lifted, elevated. 4 more. Each time you reset, get that bent elbow going up and pointing towards the ceiling. And 2. Last one. Lift yourself back up. Remember, you've got to lift and twist that foot up towards the ceiling to get that hip open. Feel the stretch on the hamstring, arms open. Bring in your little spiral, your twist, and reach it down towards your foot. No worries if you're not touching or nowhere near. Breathing out. Still feeling the stretch. Maybe you're tighter in one side than the other. Coming around, feeling that stretch, or kind of inside that hamstring is kind of a deep one, this one. Keep flexion on that foot. 2 more. Last one. Okay, now we're going to make our ways onto our backs. Just going to do a time check. Brilliant, we're fine. So onto your back, get comfortable. So it's going to feel a bit different because normally I'll put you on your side and then we go, oh no, I'll tell you what we haven't done is we haven't done our posture of prone. Sorry, I missed that. So onto your fronts. I thought there was something missing then. So just start with your elbows underneath your shoulders. And we're just going to go for some little mini lifts. So hands are at the front of the mat, shoulder width apart. And you're going to gently press into your hands and straightening out your arms, looking forwards. And then bring it back down. It's a really nice soft way to come up into sort of mini cobra. Breathing out as we lift. Chin dipping down towards chest, so think about the length on the spine and the crown of the head. Crown of the head shining forwards, heart shining, lifting and shining up and forwards. Now just check that pelvic floor is engaged. Pelvic floor's in, and then what you might find as you lift is you get this super great stretch on the TVA. So it's actually an abdominal stretch. 2 more, gently pressing in, lifting up. Last one. Lower it all the way down. Just relax your upper body, and we're going to go to our glutes and our legs here. So pelvic floor TVA in. Squeeze the left glute, lifting up that left leg. So you're going to lift it up nice and straight, point the toes, and lower it down. Then go to the right side. Squeeze the right glute, slowly lifting up the leg. Bringing it back down. So again, we're going to go really slow like we did in the warm-up here, because I want you to get the connections. So I want the glute to fire, then the hamstring. And then where you might feel it is it goes across the body to the other side of the lower back. So glute, hamstring, and then over to the other side on the lower back. So see now, with the TVA and the pelvic floor engaged, you can do these leg lifts, getting those 3 points of connection with your muscles. And at the same time, try and keep your hips the real stable part of this. So the hips are nice and still, almost pressing down into the mat on your lifts. 4 more. Should feel like these really juicy squeezes on your glutes, kind of getting a bit of blood into the glutes might really help recover if you've been training really hard. Try and get those connections right. Then reaching the arms up forwards and let the legs have a rest. And then this time just one arm. So take the right arm and we're just going to lift and then turn it so the palm goes up. Turn the palm down and then draw it back down. To the left, lift, turn it so the palm kind of goes up. Turn it back down, drop it down. And then lift, and each time here, we're going nice and slow. We're going to try and get a little bit higher with our lifts and a little bit further away with our reaches. Try not to hold the breath. So breathing out, lift, twist that palm around and reach. Pelvic floor is engaged, TVA is engaged. So if you're happy and you want to move forwards with this, opposite arm, go, and opposite leg. Squeeze the glute, lift, and then extend where you're squeezing, twist that hand around, bring it back down. Opposite arm, opposite leg, lift, twist the wrist, placing it back down. So we're going really slowly, we're kind of really working, trying to get those connections to really work. Then notice as you do your arm lifts, are you really pressing down with the other hand? It's really interesting. Then see if you can just almost hover with the other hand. It makes it a little bit harder. Just notice if you were pressing down. And then see if you can just put that softness into that other hand so you don't press down. Almost like the other hand that's not lifting is just like a feather. Resting. 2 more. Lift and reach, twist. Pelvic floor engaged. Last one. Squeezing that glute. Pressing into the mat, then we're going to sit back to our child's pose. So sit back towards the heels, just get the stretch for the lower back here. Make a diamond shape, so index fingers touch, thumbs touch, place your diamond down on the mat. Forehead goes down towards the mat. And then just send the breath to the lower back. Three big deep breaths. Again, just notice what's happening with your diamond. So just see if you can really lightly hold the diamond in front of you, just like the feather. So not pressing down, just take a little bit more lightness so that the shoulders can relax. So for now, come up to all fours and we're just doing a quick cat to cow. And then we're going to go into our bit more core work. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. So up into your cat position, tuck your pelvis under, tuck your tummies under, get the space between the shoulders. And then really fluidly, see if you can go down into the upward cat, tuck the toes under. Shine the heart forwards, look forwards, draw the shoulders down away from the ears. And then again, lift up to your upward cat, space between the shoulders, chin to chest. It's almost like a massage for the spine, this. And then again, shine the heart forwards, looking forwards, upward cat. Last one, so finish in that downward cat, chin to chest, tuck the pelvis under, really get a squeeze here on the pelvic floor on that TVA. So making your own way down into on your back. Ready for a bit of classic set work on our abs. And it's still raining. Can you hear? I wonder if you can hear the rain. Maybe not. Pelvic tilt, you need to just find your neutral spine. Pelvic floor in, TVA in. Get those shoulders super relaxed. And then we're going to go 4 toe taps. 8-second pulse, 8-second hold. So I'll start with that beginner's layer. Maybe just take your feet a bit further away from the mat, right? So you get your start with your right ankles behind your knees to start with. Okay, 4 toe taps, ready then. 4, keep the hips still. Pelvic floor engaged. 3, 2, 1. Keeping those hips still. Lift the head and shoulders, look towards the knees. Pulsing the arms up and down. Spread the fingers like bear claws. Think about the TVA and really draw in. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slide the hands up towards the knees. Find 5 centimeters more. Let's work this. Lift, hold. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Ready to go again. Either if you've got your hips tilting quite a bit, stay on that beginner's layer. If not, go with me onto tabletops. Imprint that lower back down towards the mat. 4 toe taps. Ready, 4 and 3. Try and keep the right ankle behind the knee. And 2 and 1. Lift, and we're going to pulse the arms. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straightening the legs. Reach towards the knees. 5 centimeters more. Let's work this. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Tabletop, shoulders relaxed. Pelvic floors engaged. 4 toe taps. 4 and 3. Check you're not holding your breath. And 2 And 1, lift and pulse. Think about that belly button, draw it down towards the mat. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straightening the legs, reach. 5 centimeters more. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Reset. 4 toe taps. Pelvic floor engaged. 4 and 3. Keep imprinting. 2 and 1. Lift and pulse. 8, 7. Stay strong in the wrist. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straightening the legs. Reach. 5 centimeters more. I'm going to come around with my rollers. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Last one. 4 toe taps. 4 and 3. Take these feet right down to the end of the mat. And 2 and 1. Finding that pelvic floor. Lift and pulse. 8, 7, 6. Keep imprinting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straightening the legs. Reach. 5 centimeters more. There's always more in the tank. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Take the arms over the head, straighten out the legs. Point the toes, scrunch up the wrists, the fists. Chin to chest, pull your tummies in, squeeze your glutes. Press the backs of the knees down towards the mat. Everything tensing up, scrunch up your eyebrows. Big deep breath in. Breathing out, just letting go of all those muscles. Bending the knees. We're just going to do a little exercise with the arms then, okay? So take the arms up towards the ceiling, knees bent, knees, feet hip width apart. And just alternate, one arm goes down and one arm goes up. Then reset it. One arm goes down, one arm goes up. So kind of interesting, because it's kind of interesting to see if your shoulders are kind of level or doing the same thing here. So just now feel your shoulder blades on the mat. Just feel where they're stretching and check in with them. Are they doing the same kind of movements, or is one a little bit unequal? Try and keep the chest down, the rib cage down, the pelvic floor engaged. TBA engaged. You can go for those nice stretches above the head. Adding in then, we're going to add in the heel slide to this. So opposite leg to the arm going back, slide away. Opposite arm to opposite leg, just slide the heel away. So it's a really nice crossbody move. And the way that you've worked at getting those shoulders nice and still, the rib cage still, now kind of take that down to the core, the pelvic floor and the TBA, and kind of work the same kind of feeling, that stability going through the body. And the body's doing what you're telling it to do. Pelvic floor engaged, TBA engaged, shoulders, they're not wobbling. Adding in, if you want, then you tabletop it. And then it's that opposite leg, opposite arm, extend, and then reset. And extend, and then reset. And then again, you're kind of working pelvic floor, TVA, and you're kind of still working with those shoulders down and back. Press the shoulder blades down into the mat. Breathing out into your extensions. 4 more. And 3. And 2. Placing the feet down, then arms out to the sides like a big T shape. Breathing out, just let both knees drop across to one side. So it's that lower back release. We've done quite a lot of imprint work there. So just let the lower back relax. Take the eye gaze the other side, turn the head. So maybe you feel that chest stretch. Breathing in, recenter it. Breathing out over to the other side. So you've got your chest stretch, your lower back release. Really filling up the lungs with all the air. Adding in then, if you want to, you can tabletop that. You can keep the arms out straight. I haven't really got the space, so I'm going to cactus out my arms. Tabletop, and then just let your knees drop across to one side, extend out to the corners of your room. So again, we're hamstring stretching, bending in the middle, pulling in that pelvic floor, that TVA. Take it over to the other side, extend, IT band, hamstring stretch. Oh, it's brilliant. Recenter it, breathing in, breathing out, extend. 2 more. And it's quite nice if you've got your cactus arms and your elbows, your hands up towards the ceiling, your elbows in. You can always press down on your elbows, quite a nice little version, that one. So we're going to prep into some scissors. So one leg up towards the ceiling. Just going to hamstring stretch here. So see what you can hold on to. Maybe it's hamstrings, maybe it's a little bit higher. Try and keep your neck and your shoulders down. Hips not tilting. Push away the back of the knee. Find the hamstring. Maybe it's a little bit tight. Just work with it. You can almost send your breath into that hamstring. Just one more breath on that hamstring stretch. But then keep that leg up towards the ceiling, and then we've been doing this for the last few weeks, just taking up really small circle. It's the one leg circle with the leg going up towards the ceiling. I just think this is a really nice sequence to put in, the hamstring stretch into the one leg circle, and we did all that hip mobility earlier on with the side series kneeling. So maybe it feels different to normal, maybe it feels looser, I don't know. Just small circle size melons. Obviously there's lots of different size melons. Oh, there's these massive watermelons. All the little gala melons. Pull in the pelvic floor, pull in that TVA. Just check the other knee, the other knee is pointing up towards the ceiling and it's not circling as well or rotating out to the side. That's the trick with this one, is the other knee is like your control center. Last circle round. And then we're going to go to the other leg. Hamstring stretch. See what you can hold on to. Try and keep your shoulders, your back of your neck relaxed. Push away at the back of the knee. Feel the hamstring stretch. Taking those deep breaths and the breath into that hamstring. And by that, I kind of mean you can actually visualize sending that in-breath towards that leg. Like, I feel, and I believe in so much of visualizing things. Our thoughts are our actions and our mind. It's so connected to our body. Then release from the hamstring stretch and take that one leg circle. Thinking about the other knee being really still. Start with the really small gala melons. Find the pelvic floor, keep the control. Almost like one breath, one in, one out for each circle. So it's that slow. And these circles, they shouldn't be like directly above the hip. So thinking about your ankles here, You don't want to bring the angle really close into your hip here. That would just tighten up your hip flexors. So if you can see me in my video, I'm almost at a bit of a I can't remember. I can't think how many degrees that is. Thinking about the other knee being the control center, keep it still. Other way around if you haven't done so. 2 more circles. Pelvic floors engaged. So just bend, and then we're gonna go for our scissors. So just place your hands underneath your bum. Give yourself a little bit of support. I'm gonna give you a couple of options with these scissors. So legs up towards the ceiling, but not directly over the hips. We're gonna point the toe of the leg that's gonna go down towards the floor, and then lift. Point and lift. Point and lift. So by just putting your hands on there, it gives you that nice little support so we're not overdoing it for the lower back. Pull in pelvic floor, pull in TVA. If you like this, maybe slopping in the middle, there's a little bit more dynamic flow. So keep working with that option. That's a lot harder for your core than if you prefer shoulder stand it. So we're lifting up onto our shoulders a little bit more. Maybe I'll get in the light and show you that one. I can see it's getting a bit dark. That side of this shed. Lift up to your shoulder stand. And you get your chin, you get a really nice length at the back of the neck. And then from there, you can scissors up in your shoulder stand. So really depending on which you prefer. I always think with this shoulder stand version, you get a really nice length in the stride. Thinking about legs are nice and straight, pointing the toes. 4 more. Whichever one that you're working with. Keep engaging TVA, keep engaging pelvic floor. Slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, come down off your shoulder stand or lower the legs down. Hands behind the ears. Knees, feet hip width apart. And a bit like we did in our warm-up, right? So we're going to go opposite knee, opposite elbow touch. Reset, shoulders down. Opposite knee, opposite elbow touch. So we've done quite a few nice little crunches in today's class in lots of different positions. Breathing out as you lift. So that rib cage comes up, comes across. Try and keep the hips again as your stable part here in your pelvic floor. So if you want a little bit more, you want to progress with that one, tabletop it. Imprint the lower back. Lengthen one leg away. Back to tabletops. And all we're going to go is going to work a little bit more dynamic. So if you're with the progression, your hips are nice and stable. Pull in pelvic floor, pull in TVA. This one's called the crisscross. You're going for that opposite knee to elbow with that sort of cycling action. Breathing out. 4 more. Last one. And release. Hug the knees into the chest just for a moment. Just start with a circle. So just circling kind of the lower back, a little bit of release. Maybe that's nice. We're going to work with this circle. We're going to take it into the corkscrew. So releasing the hands and then just kind of allowing that circle to grow. So hands are down by the sides. So if you want a little bit more, you start straightening out the legs. Again, I'm kind of working with this circle. Few options, you can lift up onto your elbows and circle. And again, you can do that with the bent knee version as well. Or you can do that with the straight legs. You can go arms straight and you can kind of dip into those triceps that we've been stretching out earlier. And again, you've got your bent knee. You can circle with that, or you can go straight legs. That's your hardest version, right? I haven't done that one for a while. Just 2 more. Releasing that down. Come down onto the mat, then bring your heels a bit closer to your bum, knees, feet hip width apart. We're going to vertebrae by vertebrae, pelvic tilt, lift up into our shoulder bridge. Arms over the head. Get that length at the back of the neck, chin to chest. Squeezing those glutes. Let's have a little go at a leg lift. Bending one knee, straightening out the leg. Bend, placing it back down. Stay strong in those glutes and hips. Switch it over. Lengthen. Strengthen. Pelvic floor engaged. It's a really good glute move just to finish us off today, this. Check you're not holding your breath. And the big focus is on keeping those hips still as we do those swaps, and we've got 4 left. Really press up through those glutes. 3. Breathing out. 2. Last one. Straighten. Bring the arms back down and around. So if you can rock yourself up, so hold on to your knees, rock yourself up. And we're going to go rolling like a ball to finish today. So hover, take your feet up. If you're not feeling great in your back, just go with your C shape, lift up to S shape. If you're with me, we're going to roll back, keep nice and tight, and then lift back. Take it to the hover. And again, rock back. Back to your hover. So we've been doing quite a few of the advanced moves, and we're going to put one in here. So we're going to come see if we can go to a teaser at the top. So let go of your shins. So if this is a half teaser. At the top, half teaser, pull in the core, rock back. Then you can try and open out at the top, straighten out the legs, hamstring stretch, half teaser. If you want it, full teaser. Take it back, opening it out if you want to. Back up to the top, half teaser, full teaser. Take it back. Last one, half teaser, maybe full teaser. Bringing it down. Okay, facing this way then. Nearly finished. I want to get you nice and upright, so if you want to get a cushion, that's great, or fold over the mat. What am I going to do? I'm going to fold my mat over actually. Bit of a challenge almost to finish, and then just get on the step of your mat's kind of nice. So we'll do a spine twist first, I think actually. Fingers together, thumbs together, under the chin into the sternum. Breathe in, get really tall in the spine, but try not to arch the lower back. Breathing out, spine twist it. Looking across the bent knee. Breathing in center. Breathing out over to the other bent knee. And maybe you're comfortable with that and you want to go arms out. Breathing out. So maybe palms up's kind of nice. You kind of get a little bit further into the twist. Palms down in the center. Palms out when you twist. Palms down in the center. Palms up for the twist.
Breathing out into these twists. Last one. Palms up. I want to have a go, just what we did earlier is the tricep bind. So one arm up towards the ceiling, and this is actually quite hard in this position. So you can either hold and take your tricep stretch, or then just try to thumb down, trace the thumb up the spine and see if you can get the bind. And it's kind of strange that as soon as we sit down cross-legged, it kind of makes it so much harder. Right. So if you want, grab your bands or your scarves to help. Take some deep breaths, filling out the chest. So slowly release, and then we go over to the other side. So reaching up, take your hand, take your tricep stretch. Then maybe you can get your thumb down, trace your thumb up your spine and reach. And if you don't get there today, but maybe you did in the other positions, don't panic. It's something I really noticed. I couldn't do it in the seated position, so I kind of worked at it a little bit. And it takes a little bit of time. But the first thing is that awareness. So now you know, okay, I need to work on it, maybe more on my seated stuff. And then the upper body then will start to release a little bit more. Really filling out the chest with air. So coming out, release out of that stretch. And do my namaste. Thank you so much.